today. We started in Shanghai, went to Shenzhen, and now we're in Suzhou. So all around the map today as we look now and see what they wanted to go for. And again, honestly, I'm loving this from Rogue Warriors. If it's not broke, don't fix it. They go for a very, very similar top half.
Yeah, so they have that aggression, they have that early agency coming up from the Lee Sin, Renekton, and Diana. The bot lane, a little bit more defensive with that Braum, Aphelios, and interestingly enough, we are seeing Alessandra. We haven't seen this too much when there hasn't been a LeBlanc, but you have that CC lockdown, you have the damage from the Olaf, the Gwen in the top lane, a pretty solid pick, and then that Varus obviously outranges the Aphelios quite a bit, but I think the Braum kind of mitigates the Leona and that poke pressure. It's an interesting one, and we'll have to see how LNG can play around these early tools, but ultimately, I feel like they have a lot of engage options here, which is very different from that last game, and I think something that can favor them.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. We'll see how Rogue Warriors and LNG do start this one off. I'm curious to see how this Lee Sin versus Lissandra matchup does go. We do actually see the Aftershock being picked up here by Lissandra, looking to get that CC, basically lock down the Lee Sin on when he goes in on top of her and survive any early skirmishes. But we'll see how it all goes. We are jumping onto the Rift as quick as we came off of the last one for another game of League of Legends. Rogue Warriors 1 win away from a really big upset against LNG. Like we said earlier, Rogue Warriors cannot make playoffs, but it does not matter because they can still play spoiler.
They can make playoffs in spirit.
I don't think that's how it works. But we do see a little bit of a picture-in-picture replay, and actually, I think it's just going to be a flash forward. Ooh,
yeah, I mean, that's the broken thing about Gwen, is that not only is she very strong level 1, but you also take E level 1, which gives you a dash. So, you know, sometimes we see scenarios. We were actually casting when the Shy had to go E level 1 and then failed it, and then failed his flash. But with the Gwen, you don't actually lose anything because E level 1 is what you'd normally go. So, no value gain for Rogue Warriors there, and a flash lost for that Braum.
Yeah, not the worst thing in the world. Was still very early on, so it won't really need it that much. You know, the Varus Leona shouldn't be of too much ascendancy to be able to get much more priority in this bot side, so Chocho should be fine with it at the moment. As we can see now on the bot side, everyone just trying to gain priority and push presence. As there's a nice little ward here from Icon to try and just snap out where the jungler is starting and where Xiao Hao will be. And for LNG, this is a big game. They need to make sure they do not lose this one. We go down to 9-5. Yes, you would still argue they will still make playoffs, but they play top esports and Edward Gaming. I was going to say Evil Geniuses there for a second. It's EDG, not EG. Yeah, like anyway, but we won't talk about that. We don't talk about the LCS here because, you know, my mom taught me to say if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. But yeah, like this is a must win for them if they want to continue to push for those playoff buys.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're in a position where they're fairly comfortable, but you can always be more comfortable. And definitely don't want to be dropping a series to Rogue Warriors. We do see, you know, level 1, we expect the Varus to have priority in most matchups. Icon, pre-level 3, the Lee Sin's not the best at contesting the wave. It's similar with the Renekton in the top lane. It's very much a strong level 1 from LNG across the board. But we will start to see those solo laners pushing back a bit. And even this bot lane gets a bit more agency. Now, Xiao Hao is looking towards here. Jojo could go in with his passive, but with no flash, kind of hard to stay on top of them. And you can see LNG are kind of sensing this. They're kind of playing it a little bit. I'm saying that.
Yeah, they are backing up a little bit. They're sensing something. They recognize, well, he's not on the Raptor camp right now, but that doesn't mean that he's not here. So just missing out on that ward. The ward does actually die, and they have full vision of exactly what's going down. Light and Iwandi going to be taking a bit of harassment here from Betty and Chocho as the Rogue Warriors bot lane just deny the LNG one from getting up around the scuttle. And this is a lot of people to try and guarantee a very small objective.
Yeah, I mean, this is LNG. They have the level 1 prio, but the waves bounce back, right? Level 3, Lee Sin's in a position to contest more easily. He also, obviously, the wave being pushed in allows it to bounce back. We saw that across the board. So despite the fact that LNG had those pushes, when it came to contesting the scuttle, it was Rogue Warrior who had the priorities to move and play for that. Even in the top lane, which wasn't involved, you can see ZDZ very much pushed in on top of Arley. So it's allowing the Diana to flourish. And that's the important thing when you're picking Diana, is you want to have priority lanes that can sort of lean to you and assist you. And the fact that you're seeing a situation where Xiao Hao gets double scuttle against an Olaf, perfect early game for Diana. You can't ask for more.
No, you cannot. Light might be in a little bit of trouble here. He does get the concussive blows off onto him, so he has to get himself cleansed away. But the flash from Betty and the cleanse from Betty burned in response. So good trading here for LNG. They'll still be pretty damn happy with how this thing all went.
Yeah, I think you overcommit a bit too heavily there as Rogue Warriors. You're not going to kill Varus. He has cleanse. He's basically next to his tower. And the thing is that although you get the concussive blows down, I wonder he keeps resetting with the Q cooldown. It's so short in the early game. It's just 5 seconds. And every time he does, you're getting that extra bonus damage from the Varus. And on top of that, you disengage. Varus can still hit you, but Betty can't really do anything in return. So it ends up burning a fair bit more in that scenario.
Do they think they've gone back? Oh, they do a little bit as they go forward. There's the Gravitum down. Iwandi in a lot of trouble. He's forced to flash away. Don't quite get the concussive blows, but they equal it back up. And Rogue Warriors, they're just playing heads up right now.
I love the fact they're challenging this situation. This is the power of that Braum. It makes it very difficult to engage in as a Leona. And on top of that, the concussive blows just means the Aphelios can just keep hitting targets and stunning them down.
TP.
Now, there's a ward behind. We could see a TP coming in. This is going to be that Lissandra with the CC.
There is going to be the Lissandra coming in. It's Icon there, but he gets concussive blow down. He doesn't
beautiful.
have himself. Oh no! Rogue Warriors able to completely mitigate it. LNG left reeling from that play. Great response though from Rogue Warriors.
So rough from Icon. I mean, you're TPing into a lost scenario, right? Because Light was already in base. Iwandi's super low. If they match, you lose out. And you know what? Unsurprisingly, they opted to match on that TP. No level 6 from Icon as well to keep himself safe. So just a bit of a disaster there. And Forge has already picked up the Merc Treads in this mid lane. So much value already picked up. I wouldn't be surprised to see if you had Legend Tenacity as well, because there's a lot of CC on the side of LNG. You're getting a ton of value on the back of that. And yeah, it's like, this is not a favorable scenario for LNG to engage into.
Yeah, like what's Iwandi supposed to do? He has to stay near his turret, otherwise he dies as well. He cannot follow up on that, no matter how much he would like to. And speaking of follow-up, they're going to jump onto Ale, who gets completely just obliterated by 3 members of the side of Rogue Warriors. Yes, they lose a dragon, but Rogue Warriors, again, just looking so much more proactive.
It's just mid-jungle once more, who are just doing everything on the map. Forge and Xiaohao are just making plays happen and doing things. On the other side, Tarzan, nothing really happened. And you have to credit the fact that they had the priority at level 3 to take both scuttles. It definitely puts Tarzan behind a little bit. But even so, I mean, if you're picking an Olaf and you follow behind Adana, it's just not going to be a good game.
It really, really isn't. And this is starting to snowball a little bit of ways. We can have a look at the replay here. It does look like Ale just gets caught up. They just flash on top of him, and with Ale not taking that flash on Gwen, the couple of nerfs that came in for this champion, it does mean you are very vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely puts you in a rough spot, and I think that's kind of where LNG are now, not just in this game, but in this series in general. You lose this game. Obviously, it's a worrying trend, but you're also just going to be so much more in a difficult spot to contest those upper spots in the playoffs. Those first round buys, getting into a really comfortable position like we're expecting from EDG and I've forgotten who's in second place. I'm completely blank.
FBX.
FBX, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And just to confirm to you, you were wondering if Forge did take the Legend Tenacity in his runes. He did indeed. So
that's gaming. That's gaming.
That's gaming. That's a lot of tenacity in there for you. But just as we're talking about, you know, the general scope of the league and stuff like that, LNG played 3 more series, including this one. We obviously do not know the result of this one just yet. But if they were to lose their next 3, there is a world where they get knocked out of playoffs. They are only on 9 wins,
wild.
and because of every single other team being so clumped up together, it is actually quite dangerous for you to go into the last few games of the season with only 9 wins. 10 is what guarantees you playoffs. 10 is the magic number right now, and I feel like 10 could be the magic number going further on.
It's mad, honestly, that could actually happen, especially because this is an LNG who started a split 7-0 in their first few weeks, and now they're in a position where, you know, they are struggling against Rogue Warriors. They aren't guaranteed for playoffs. It's just such a massive fall off, and that disconnect definitely a factor in that. But also in this game, it just feels like Rogue Warriors have had more agency, you know, despite having a less proactive early jungle. Xiaohao's been able to play around the prio they got after the wave bounces. He's been moving with his team to establish pressure. They didn't get that first dragon share, but they're now getting this first herald, and I don't really think LNG can do anything to contest because Iwandi's going to be a little bit late. Chocho's already there, Forge is already there. They're in position.
Yep, they're already there, and the Rift Herald is already gone now. If Rogue Warriors like, they can look to try and just disengage completely. Chocho putting himself forward because he knows he has to stand behind me, and you just wasted a lot of time for LNG. And this is what I think is the big difference maker when we have our great teams versus our good teams, because our great teams will always make trades around the map where they can get something to their advantage, where they are putting pressure out or whatever they need to do, versus just losing time and effectively money while trying to contest an objective that they're just never really going to contest.
Exactly, like the fact that Rogue Warriors go for this Herald and commit members, there's a cost to that, right? There's a cost to committing those members up there, committing their time, and LNG also paid that cost, but they didn't get the reward from it. It's like, you go into a shop and you give money, but you don't actually come out with anything.
Yeah, that man just took my 50p. I didn't get any sweets at all. This is
Freddo, man.
Yeah, what the hell? It's annoying that Freddos are worth like 50p now. Back when we were kids, they were probably worth like what, 5p?
They were
10,
5p. Dude. I remember them being 10. Did you get half a Freddo now for 50p?
I remember them being 5p, but I think I am a little older than you.
I blame inflation.
Well, we had the punt in Ireland. We didn't have the pound. We had the punt, which was our version of before the euro came in, before everything changed to one centralized currency.
Really? I feel like it sounds like you're making it up.
It does sound like it's a completely made up thing. But then you have I think it was Spain had like I used to call them potatoes, but they were like pesuedos, or I can't remember the exact thing. I'm butchering it like a man, but there was a lot of cool currencies back in the day. A lot of cool currencies. Now they're all gone.
Yeah.
Like, gone to time.
I know, we just have the euro and the pound. No more punts, no more
Well,
francs.
the pound, once, the pound, let's, we'll see how Brexit goes with you guys, and we'll see how long the pound lasts. But anyway, back to the game as we come in. Gotta get my jobs in, Ox. Gotta get my jobs in. So Rogue Warriors still very much in the ascendancy. We're able to take down that first turret in top side as well. So they're keeping this Gwen very much down right now, making sure that goal going into ZDZ, and of course Xiao Hao very much setting themselves up for a good early mid-game spike, similar to what we saw in game one.
Yeah, and once again, having that early proactivity, translating that into what we expect to see a strong mid-game. They are now grouping for this dragon, and I just don't think LNG can contest this one at all. You can see warning pings coming out, Tarzan's resetting, they're not interested. And this is a Cloud Dragon as well, which is pretty big, because that means it's not going to be a Cloud Soul. It's going to be Ocean or Infernal. I think Infernal in particular would be really good for Rogue Warriors, but I wouldn't really complain about Ocean either.
Yeah, honestly, I think most teams are just saying as long as it's not Cloud, that is a massive win condition. It is in Ocean Soul. So again, very difficult. I'm looking at this now. We're saying, who kills anybody if you get an Ocean Soul on Rogue Warriors? The Renekton's never going to die. The Lee Sin's never going to die. The Braum is going to be able to keep auto-attacking. Like, you're looking very much at burst damage coming out from the side of LNG, especially with this poke Varus. Actually, no, I lie. It's not even a poke Varus. It's actually a on-hit Varus as he's moving towards that Immortal Shield bow.
Yeah, and I think it's actually important that seen a bit of an engage, but that's
tenacity.
That's legend tenacity with Merc Treads. Like, that was like a 0.5 second stun, it felt like. It just so little value, and this is kind of why we're not seeing
combined with the solar flare. Like,
yeah, it's kind of why we're not seeing. I don't think this is a good matchup for Lissandra. I'm just gonna say it. I think like Lissandra's good in LeBlanc, sure, but into Lee Sin, who can just go this build and is too tanky to really burst down. It's like, what value are you getting? And again, the value for Lissandra is you burst down a single target, and then you get reset with your thralls. Who on Rogue Warriors, right? Shield Bow and Cleanse on Betty makes him hard. The rest of them are bruisers, apart from the Braum, who's a tank. And they're investing in the Merc Treads stunk. So I think they're fine in this situation. It's really questionable. And actually, I want to talk a little bit about this. The value of Braum in this game, right? Great into Leona. Like, I've talked about this endlessly. Good at blocking the arrows from Varus. You can block the actual the claw from the Sandra. It dissolves. You can block Olaf axes, so we can't even connect, right? It's so good. Here, this Braum pick is actually will do numbers for them in the team fights.
Yeah, blocks the needlework as well. So a big ultimate that if he's able to get in front of will just be mitigated. Blocks it all as we wait to see how Rogue Warriors are able to block LNG from a 10th win, which would secure them playoffs. This is a big moment for them. Like we said, they are playing spoiler, and they are playing the villain very, very well right now. They are just pushing LNG to such great great lows, because honestly I think that LNG are struggling to find an answer. They're not really throwing any curveballs. They're not looking to be proactive. They're just looking to just, as you say, it's similar to last game, just be passive, farm up. But as we know from the last game, Rogue Warriors won't let you
as well. Yeah, and on top of that, I don't think there's anything really to farm up to. Like, LNG is a composition who want to go in and apply pressure, and it's like you're just going to be playing into an Aphelios roam, which is very difficult to do. The on-hit Varus, I think, makes sense here. You have so much like bulk to cut through, but at the same time, it's like you're gonna have a difficult time dealing with these big threats. If Diana's in range for you to auto attack, then she's in range to do Diana things.
That's exactly it. We can see now Rogue Warriors pushing up towards this bot side, trying to see if they can get that turret down. We see Cho now popping down the pink board, recognizes that there was a little bit of a vision cubby for LNG as they keep their Varus alive and healthy. And let's have a quick look at the items. Gore Drinkers for both the Lee Sin and the Renekton for Rogue Warriors. They've got the Proto Belt as well for the Diana, the Immortal Shield Bows for both either AD carries as they both push in towards this 2-item spike they are looking for. And you still have the Riftmaker though for Ally, so he's not in a bad position, but with the fact that you had to go Oblivion Orb so early for Icon means that you are just not really in a position to be able to get that Everfrost as quickly as you would like. And with a minute 45 until this dragon, Rogue Warriors are very happy to eat up all of your wards.
Yeah, absolutely. They can just push in, clear out your vision. Very difficult for LNG to try and contest in this situation. And again, you know, if you're not contesting these, you're going to fall further and further behind in this game. And things like the Olaf, like the Lissandra, are going to struggle later on in this matchup.
Very much so, and Rogue Warriors are going to be feeling pretty good about where this game is going in the later stages. Of course, we always talk about the Aphelios, but Lee Sin, no slouch whatsoever. Diana, with the burst of the Moonfall, can just do so much in these late game team fights if she's able to get down on top of carries like Light, like Icon, and there's not really a lot that, you know, LNG can do about it.
Absolutely, and now Herald in pocket. So Rogue Warriors can look to apply some pressure with that. I think mid tower is a pretty good one to take, just because it's kind of hard to actually take the mid tower with Lissandra. She's got a fair bit of wave clear at this point in the game. She's hard to dive because, you know, she presses R on herself. So that's kind of the angle I'd like for Rogue Warriors to look for. You can also use it around this dragon. So resets are coming in for the bot lane of Rogue Warriors. They're leaning towards that dragon, which is spawning in 35 seconds. They're just about to get there in time. They have the Herald, which you can throw down. And then you herald that mid lane tower. And then you have to respond to it. It allows you to have that route into river. And you should be able to pick that up quite easily. Or if LNG contest, then you have control of the area. And they're diving into you, which for Rogue Warriors is very comfortable.
And what I want to see from LNG before we come into this fight, if they decide to try and contest for this dragon, of course, Rogue Warriors are in no rush to try and stack up that dragon. I'm sure they're very happy with their scaling goes, but I want to see some flanking angles from Icon. I want to see him getting in behind, using that Ice Claw to get on top of a carry, pop down the Ring of Frost, and, you know, again, bait out the cleanse. Then you've got the cleanse, and you got the Glacial Tomb. There's no way that Betty can get out of that, so I think that the side of Rogue Warriors are aware of that. They have no real reason to contest this as heavily as the side of LNG are, so they're just going to try and get priority in this mid lane by dropping down the Rift Herald, but no real support here for it, so they actually might not get will get the charge, but they won't get anything else off it, so still waiting to take down that tier 1 in mid. Yeah,
a little bit sloppy, in honesty. I feel like Rogue Warriors may be a bit late to the reset. Like, you need to come off that 40 seconds, go straight there, and Jiao Hao actually reset at about 30 seconds, so, you know, maybe just a bit slow to the punch on that. I feel like there's no way that LNG realistically should just be picking up a free dragon, but either way, they opt to apply that pressure mid. They push the wave in top. Icon's dealing with bot wave. This means they finally have a window to at least get some damage on this tower.
Yeah, it's similar to what we saw in game 1, where Rogue Warriors a little bit late to the party, and LNG gifted over a dragon, which puts them on to 2 out of 4 for a soul point. It's a very long way away from them being able to get that. It would be about 30 minutes before they were able to get it. As now Rogue Warriors, they're just trying to keep the pressure onto this mid lane tier 1. If they can open that one up, it does open up the map a little bit for Xiao Hao and Forge to get behind them. But for now, LNG doing very, very well of just soaking up these waves, and they've actually brought back the gold lead just a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been slow, I would say, this mid game. We had the early advantage for Rogue Warriors, and now it's kind of just gotten to that farming state where both teams are just catching waves, applying pressure, and an objective comes up, Rogue Warriors don't even contest it, and we just go back to this. And unless there's a reason to fight, I feel like we might end up continuing with this for a decent amount of time.
I figured out what those cats are called, by the way. They're called Munchkin cats.
They're actually called Munchkin cats?
Yeah, they're actually called Munchkin cats. They've got like little tiny... They're like the corgis of the cat world. They've got little tiny stubs for legs, and they would be my favorite type of cat. Again, would never really adopt one because they are seen as more of a luxury cat and have a lot of back problems later on in life because, you know, very short legs. So I wouldn't like that for an animal.
Yeah, it's sad, those situations where animals are sort of bred into those conditions where they have health issues.
Yeah, like pugs. Pugs are a nightmare. Can't blink and can't breathe. It's a little sad to see them go like that, but they're happy enough as long as they have some food and water and some good exercise. And I'm sure whoever has them gives them some good lives regardless. As we come back into this live game, great segue, no one noticed a thing, as Rogue Warrior is now pushing back into this top side, and ZDZ is alone here, so he'll get a lot of free time here. Sadly for him, did not opt in to go for the tower pushing rune, and well, might be in a little bit of trouble. Icon is roaming around, but they don't want to commit the TP from Ale just yet.
Too much tenacity, you can't really pin him down for the rest of the team to get there.
Very true.
And that is something to mention, is that Ale on this grind is kind of like a big late game pick for the side of LNG. A lot of agency on that in the later stages, so he will be a relevant threat further in the game that they can sort of lean on. And it will have to be a big factor if they're going to find success in those later team fights.
We'll wait now, and CDZ just not really knowing where anyone is right now. Doesn't have full information of where the enemy bot laner or the enemy jungler is, so just backing himself off. And while this has all been kind of tugging around all the different lanes, it is going to be bot lane tier 1 going down in favor of RW. That is only our second turret in 21 minutes, so a turret every 10 minutes as of right now. It has been an exceptionally slow game, but I have a feeling in a minute and a half's time we will see some action from RW as they look to contest for that sole point for LNG.
I swear, if RW just like give up the dragon again, I'm gonna be so tilted.
Well, how do you want to see them compete for this? How do you want to see them set up around this objective in over a minute's time?
I think the thing is the side laners have had constant priority, so push a wave in. So for example, ZDZ pushes top wave in. Someone has to come respond. You then have him move away towards the other side of the map on the bot side, and then you can push into that dragon area. And there's, you know, LNG, because they have a man answering on the top side of the map, aren't able to respond. You get like a foothold in the river, and then LNG have to push in. Makes it very difficult to do. You have tools like the Braum, you have, you know, the Lee Sin and the Recton, who create so much space for the Aphelios, and you can just kite it backwards.
Well, they just got the Aphelios back to pick up that second item there, so we'll be putting out a massive amount. As soon as I saw it, I couldn't really recognize it, and a gold graph of such came up, so I couldn't really see it. But believe it would be the Runan's Hurricane, as he's looking to try and just shred through most of these teams. As now Rogue Warriors, they're doing exactly what you said they should do. They pushed in, they get the priority, they were to move their solo laners in first. There is TPs available for both Ale and Icon. Again, LNG not going to be super upset with giving away this dragon if they didn't feel comfortable fighting it. It is still only the second one for Rogue Warriors, fourth one of the game. And LNG, though, walking forward, they're going to try and jump into Xiao Hao, who does get hit by the Glacial Tomb. He will be taken down very, very low, but not quite finished off just yet. He flashes away. They have the Unbreakable, but he will fall, as here goes the Moonlight Vigil down, and they jump straight onto Betty and try and take him out of this fight. LNG just found an opportunity, knew what they could do, and were able to 100% punish onto Rogue Warriors. They will end up gaining 4, losing none, and this is just a fantastic start to this fight for LNG.
Just beautiful target selection there, honestly, from LNG. They knew Diana was a big threat if you don't shut her down early. She's the one who doesn't have the Merc Treads in her pocket, so as a result, the ult has a lot of value from Icon. They shut her down very quickly, and they find momentum. That's the critical thing with this composition. If you find that initial kill on the back of Alessandra, you can very easily chain it into more with those frozen thralls. And the thing is, because Rogue Warriors were so inactive, LNG have been able to make up that goal difference, and this now means they'll be picking up their third dragon off the game. Ocean Soul for an Olaf is, I mean, it's insane. It's insane, but at the same time, 2 TPs have been coming in. They're going to try to kill off Tarzan, but he's too tanky. Oh, Forge almost goes down. We're going to look at Xiao Hao and Chocho coming in on top of this. Play. This could be a Baron play. You have no jungler for 30 seconds. Yeah, they can just start this one off, and LNG have to contest. You can, you know, rotate off the Baron and fight them, or just look to finish it. You have options. TP from Forge means he gets to reset on full HP, and now it's up to LNG to contest this one. They do have the ults back up and available, which is critical here. But again, they have to start the fight before the smite.
They have to start the fight before the smite. That is the call from you. TP is available here as Icon gets jumped on. TP going to be coming in. There is going to be the frozen path to keep everyone away. Solar Flare goes in onto the backside. Great Glacial Fissure onto 4. And they get the Moonfall as well. You can see ZDZ trying to cut off the escape route right now as Betty being jumped on by this Scissors maniac in the front lines. But it's just not enough for LNG. I don't think they're going to be able to continue fighting this one up. The concussive blows will stun up both of these carries, and they will find themselves a fight. It ends up being 3 for 4 in favor of Rogue Warriors. But LNG, they stop the Baron, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, Rogue Warriors managed to get some gold, but all in all, they don't really trade too favorably there. Forge is 5 kills in his pocket now. This Lee Sin's a monster, but it just feels like the 80 carries can't stay alive. It's like Ole is just doing so much work there, and I kind of talked about how he was going to be the major threat carrying these late game team fights. He did so much damage, and you can watch that here. So the initial engage comes in from Xiao Hao. He's already low, he has no Zhonyas. He's just trading his life for the engage. But watch Ole. Does a ton of damage onto this Braum with the help of the Lissandra. And then, you know, Betty just has to run away. He can't do anything to him in this situation. Can't really trade damage. And he just gets absolutely shredded. And then Ale, he is that big bruiser, that AP bruiser who kind of is the massive threat that LNG have to deal with. And they do eventually, but it takes them such a long time.
It does take him a long time, and he does trade back one last kill right at the end, able to kill off Cho Cho as he wanted to make sure those concussive blows went down. The goal pretty even. Dragon stacking in favor of LNG. Kills 7 apiece. But it is all about that Lee Sin right now. 5-0-2 for Forge, and you can see now Betty opting to go towards the Hex Drinker instead of moving straight to his Infinity Edge. I feel like this is a smart move from him. He recognizes that he's only really going to be killed by Icon or by Ale.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like it needs to be those two who are sort of doing that damage. But it's a rough one. It's a rough one, honestly. And Ale at this point is just on fire. Literally, it just feels like there's no real answer to him in this game. And I think a big factor to bring it back to was that second dragon. Not the second dragon, third dragon, sorry. The second dragon for LNG, when Rogue Warriors just didn't contest it. And now they're 2 minutes from an Ocean Soul, potentially. They've kind of backed themselves into a corner as a result, and I think they were just too passive in that mid game.
Little bit too passive. They are trying to see if they can get Betty up to that Hex Drinker before they fight for this. Just under 2 minutes until that soul does spawn. It's very difficult for you to make that damage stick now as well for RW. If you give away that soul to LNG, it just becomes so much harder for you to work it as Forge. I'm gonna make best friends with the Baron buff as the big purple worm keeps telling him to get him the hell out of his house. He's not been invited. Now Rogue Warriors, they may look to try and just burst this one down. They know there's no TP on Ally, so this would be a 4v4, but LNG knows something is up. They will pop down an axe and a ward, but do Rogue Warriors fully commit to this? I don't know if they can. Actually, I think they are. I think they're just gonna go for it.
They want to fight. They want to bring LNG in. LNG aren't really going to get baited. They know the Baron won't get finished here, so they're just going to take mid priority here, take that mid tier 1, and they'll have prio for this dragon in a minute. So they'll be able to move in and just establish vision control.
They'll have prio, as we see now the rest of Rogue Warriors coming in to make sure they don't lose anything else. The refresh of wards and everyone else starting to reset. We're seeing both sides just getting as much gold into their pockets as they possibly can before this next fight. This could be a massive indication of who's going to be able to take this game. If LNG get the Ocean Soul, it becomes so much harder for Rogue Warriors to kill them off, especially when I'm looking at Ale on this Gwen. And on the other side of this, if Rogue Warriors are able to delay it, deny it that little bit longer, they will keep themselves in this game and keep that Aphelios going. And actually, not even going to go with the Hex Drinker. Going to go towards a Wit's End instead. So, doesn't need the extra bit of shielding. Just needs the damage. And Ale here, we'll see Forge there. So, not able to gain anything from that. Just has to back himself away. But it is Rogue Warriors first on the objective.
Yeah, so LNG, you know, they had that pride. They got some vision down, but they were forced out. And now Rogue Warriors, they have sort of a foothold on the area. The dragon's spawning, but remember, even if they lose the fight, if LNG get the Dragon, it's a massive win for them.
That's exactly it. Solar Flare has been used as the Glacial Fissure. There's going to be the Moonlight Vigil going down on top of a couple of different members, but Ale is still on the backside. He's trying to get on top of Betty, who's forced to flash away. He goes golden. It's a 2-for-1 trade in favor of LNG, but now look at Betty trying his very best to keep this fight alive. He's got himself the white and green guns and a little blast plant, or excuse me, a honey fruit plant, and now the resets are coming in. The TPs are going to be used now as Forge goes in. It's going to be double TP committed here for the side of LNG and get themselves back into this fight. These arrows are doing so much, and there we go. Ale jumping back in, but Forge jumps in on the 3. He's 3v1 right now, all on his own some, and will not be able to survive. LNG get the fight, and they get the Dragon. It's exactly one thing you can see. They're just busting themselves right in front of this Braum. They do not want him to get anywhere near this, and now, because he looked to try and maybe steal that objective, just has to burn his flash to keep himself alive, but RW now really in a hole.
And that's now a massive power advantage for LNG. Getting that Ocean Soul, it means that in these longer drawn-out fights, they're going to get so much value off the back of that. Really just RW not able to find the advantage here. And we can see Betty's untouched for a good portion of this fight. It looks like he's in a comfortable spot. He starts poking out damage. He starts getting a lot done. And then Ale looks at him. And that's when everything changes. Like, he dashes forwards here, even with the exhaust on, gets the snip, and look at that damage. That's with the exhaust, right?
God damn.
And I know he does 2 damage on his Q, but even so, and as soon as that happens, it's like Betty stopped pumping damage. His team have run out of health, which is an unfortunate problem in League of Legends, and they're just not able to continue the fight. Ale is a problem, a massive problem, and he's been a big driving force in these later team fights.
Yeah, he is an issue, to say the least, as we can see now. Forge might be in a little bit of an issue himself, just have the Safeguard and Award to get himself out to safety, but top side now owned by LNG. They've got themselves all the camps on the side of Rogue Warriors. They've got themselves priority vision on this Baron as well, but Scryer's Bloom does show the Rogue Warriors that they don't need to panic just yet. That objective not being taken as of right now, but they have to be very aware, because this objective will go down very quickly when you have an on-hit Varus, when you have an Olaf and a Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, they can just go for it as quickly as they want. And again, with the Ocean Soul, they have the sustain, so they're not really too concerned about taking that much damage. Rogue Warrior is definitely in a hole right now. The gold lead on 3,000, but the Soul is the big problem. And LNG just with complete control of the area. Rogue Warriors have engaged tools, but it's still, it's hard to find the critical targets. They've been wanting to play these team fights, kiting back, playing defensive, and it just hasn't been working.
No, it really hasn't. I think the big thing to notice between the two teams that as different between Game 1 and Game 2 is that Xiaohao 0, 3, and 4 hasn't had the same level of impact that he did in Game 1. So now, with that Baron pressure being coming in for the side of LNG, they can start this 2-man. And like you said, they have the sustain. Ale and Tarzan can just kite back off of this, no problem whatsoever, as Ale just pushes forwards with the needlework. It's going to force the Unbreakable. CDZ does get the Dominus off, as well as the Solar Flare back on top of this, and CDZ is probably in a lot of hurt if he doesn't get himself out right now. The flash forward into the Moonfall, trying to catch anybody out they possibly can. Forge goes in on the backside, but they've lost their front lines. The Braum, the Renekton, and Betty all dead. The Aphelios could not survive against the Raging Viking, and LNG get everything. They kill 4. It's only Xiaohao left, and they might look for the end right here, right now.
Yeah, they got a minion wave, but actually, yeah, they got a minion wave coming up. That cannon's a little bit low, but I think Tarzan might just tank the tower here. I think they can actually end off the back of this. Diana just doesn't have the wave clear, and they're looking to push up and go for it. This should just be them equalizing that Game 1. LNG answer back with force.
And again, we're seeing LNG go towards that 2-1 scoreline. They will have the minions to stop that backdoor bonus for the side of Rogue Warriors, and there's nothing Xiaohao can do. He just has to watch as his base goes down. Great response here from LNG in Game 2 to equal out the series.
And it just feels like these teams who are playing these front-to-back compositions, like things like Aphelios, it's just so hard to keep them safe. Like, every fight, it felt like, you know, if it was Ale or it was Tarzan, one person would run at the Aphelios and he would just die. And, like, he had no answers to that. I feel like, you know, this was a slower pace